A reading from Diviner's Nemesis II, Retribution by Maggie Shaw. Liz stepped out of the lift into the rear part of the reception hall with Bethany behind her. Tony followed them both, curious to see what the chairwoman's estranged husband looked like. Alec was waiting in the foyer, standing near the reception desk. The desk was staffed by a man Liz didn't recognise. This was contrary to office procedure, which required that she meet any new receptionist before they took up post. Also in the foyer was a well-dressed middle-aged woman sitting on one of the waiting area seats and leafing through a well-thumbed magazine. Alec turned to greet his wife, his smile strained, his aura devoid of emotional feedback. "Hello, dear," he said without inflection. "Good morning," she replied politely. She was conscious that someone in the foyer was caught up in a powerful inner conflict and walked across to join Alec at the desk, expecting the turmoil to be radiating from him. But he was without emotion, his feelings shut off behind a wall of self-control. "Is there a place where we can talk in private?" he asked. She knew she would feel defenceless alone with him. Guardedly she replied, "There is nothing that can't be said here." The lift doors opened again. Terry hurried out, carrying 2 coats and handbags on her arm, and spoke before she realised what's happening. "There you are, Liz. Your mother said she'll see you in her lunch hour as she's very busy, so you should leave right away." Oh gosh, I'm sorry." Her face gaped at Liz and Alec as she halted beside Bethany and automatically handed her coat and bag to her. "I would find it easier to speak my mind if we were alone, Liz." "I've had enough of being alone with you, Alec." She realised the conflict was not emanating from the middle-aged visitor, but from the strange receptionist, and tensed. "Has it really come to that?" Alec asked. His eyes betrayed no emotion. His veneer was impenetrable. Bethany suddenly realised this receptionist was drawing a gun from inside his jacket. "Liz!" she screamed. "The desk!" Alec saw the danger and sprang across, pushing Liz to the ground. Before the receptionist could fire, Alec cracked his wrist with a karate chop and followed through with an uppercut to his jaw. The man fell back into the chair behind the desk like a crumpled rag doll. Around them, the people present gaped with shock. The plate-glass entrance doors swung open and the clairvoyant Mary Sebastian hurried in from the street, her hennaed hair straggling wildly. "What's happened?" she demanded, running over to help Liz pick herself up and wondering why the others hadn't moved. "The receptionist," Bethany said, astonished. "He just tried to shoot Liz. Alec stopped him." Liz stood up and turned to face her husband, furious. "If this is your idea of how to get me back, Alec, I don't find it very funny," she spat, and pushed past him to collect her coat and bag from Terry. "Where are you going, Liz?" he demanded, hurrying after her. "To get a solicitor," she said without looking back. "Don't go, Mrs. Graham," Mary Sebastian cried. "The warning was most explicit. You would be a fool to leave this building." Liz chose not to hear. She donned her coat and marched out through the rear exit of the building into the quadrangle car park. Sickened by the scene she had just been forced to take part in, she quickly unlocked the Oldsmobile to escape, only to find her husband climbing in the passenger door. "Get out!" she ordered. He resisted the temptation to take on her anger. "Not until you have heard what I have to say." "I've heard enough of your lies." "Is it a lie to tell you I'm sorry? I want you back, Liz. I missed you last night." "Is it easier for you to swallow your pride and apologise to me rather than tell all your fine friends you've lost your latest status symbol?" "I don't understand, Liz. You said you loved me. If that is so, you would forgive me for that pointless argument we had last night, as I have forgiven you. I was a fool to be so thoughtless, and I apologise. Please come home. I miss you." "Nonsense! You only miss me when your friends call round and realise you're not man enough to keep your wife." He was struggling now not to express his anger. In a tone of reasoned hurt, he asked, "Liz, what's happened to you? You've changed." "That stupid pantomime you just staged is what's happened, Alec. Surely you don't think that'd fool me. It'd take a lot more than a gun trick and some acrobatics to get me sobbing gratefully in your arms. Now get out. But I had nothing to do with that. Sure, and you always say I underestimate the bad in people. Listen to me, Liz. No, I've listened to you for too long, Alec. So get out before I get some members to drag you out. His patience finally snapped. He opened the passenger door and stepped out onto the oil-stained tarmac, his manner distant, cold and dangerous. Very well, if that is the way you want it, you will be hearing from me, Elizabeth Kirkland. He slammed the passenger door and stalked off across the car park to his waiting Lincoln. Liz started up her car engine and drove out onto the busy rain-washed street.